A meaningful life grows when we take on challenges with dedication and a sense of purpose. As we aim to do our best, we should also remember that God, in His wisdom, shows us the value of staying humble and being patient. Setting big goals is important, but it's also wise to keep things balanced so you don't get overwhelmed or burn out. Break your goals into smaller, achievable steps, asking God for guidance as you work through each one. Remember how Jesus, even though He was perfect, didn't rush through His mission. He took deliberate steps, and everything He did was part of a bigger plan. In the same way, self-discipline helps you reach your full potential. Ask yourself, how much more could I accomplish if I gave my full attention to the work God has given me? How much further could I go in serving others, growing in my faith and following my purpose? We should give our best effort as if we're doing it for the Lord, but it's important to remember that God doesn't want us to push ourselves to the point of burnout. He wants us to grow, serve, and live in faith over the long haul. The key is balance, giving your all while still making time for rest, reflection, and renewal through Christ. You never really know how far you can go until you push yourself. Keep challenging yourself, but always remember that God's grace is enough for you, and His power shines through when you feel weak. With Christ, you'll find the strength to do amazing things, along with the wisdom to know when to take a break, recharge, and keep moving forward. If you ever feel like your life is empty or without direction, it might be a sign that your heart isn't fully following the plan God has for you. Sometimes we lose our way because we aren't grounded in God's truth. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when we try to handle everything by ourselves. But Jesus offers us a way to get back on track and find real purpose. A big part of this process is discipline. The Bible tells us that discipline isn't something to be dreaded, but a blessing from God that helps shape us into who He wants us to be. Begin by looking at the gifts and callings God has placed in your heart. What are the dreams and desires He's put inside of you? And how can you take care of them better? Start by planning your time and energy in a way that honors God. He loves to see us grow, and one way to grow is by pushing yourself to be more effective in how you live, work, and serve. Take a simple, everyday task, something that might feel routine, and try to change your approach. Imagine if, with God's wisdom and guidance, you could complete that task in half the time, while also doing it with more care and purpose. The Bible teaches us to manage our time well, and part of that is learning how to use it in ways that honor God. Being more efficient isn't just about doing things faster, but about changing the way we think. It means letting go of old habits and embracing a mindset that reflects Christ's ways. When God is at the center of your life, even your smallest efforts can have a big impact. As you become more effective in what you do, you'll notice that God's grace moves through you more easily. Life is not just about getting things done. It's about making sure each moment lines up with God's plan, living with purpose, and managing your time in a way that honors Him. Imagine how your life could look if you pursued this with passion, always aiming to grow and improve, not just for yourself, but for His kingdom. Our spiritual and emotional health is closely tied to the rhythm of our everyday routines. Just like the world around us follows God's natural order, day turning to night, the changing seasons, our lives are guided by habits that help us stay rooted in faith. Having a sense of direction each day, finding a routine, and living with purpose is truly a blessing from God. It helps us focus on the things that truly matter. Knowing when you'll wake up, what you'll eat, and who you'll spend time with may seem simple, but they're the building blocks of our lives shaped by His hand. In these daily moments, which make up most of our time, God invites us to become more aware of His presence and work in our lives. Having structure in our lives isn't just about getting things done. It helps us keep a clear mind, a calm heart, and stay connected to God's peace. When we embrace the order He gives us, we find it easier to walk in faith, trusting Him to take care of the details. We sometimes believe that adding a personal touch or showing a little uniqueness can help us stand out in a positive way. And in many cases, it does. By choosing to be a bit different in how we think, dress, or express ourselves, we can create a sense of individuality that others may find interesting or even admirable. But here's what really matters. No matter how creative or unique we are, the true foundation of our lives is what keeps us steady. God calls us to live with discipline, structure, and a clear sense of purpose. A strong foundation helps a house stand firm through any storm, and the same is true for a life built on godly values and daily habits. When we anchor ourselves in these practices, we can face life's challenges with resilience. It's not about how far we may wander, but how faithfully we walk the path before us. We are encouraged to be disciplined in our daily choices, whether it's in prayer, work, or caring for our families, because these habits form a solid base that allows God to shape something extraordinary in our lives. While He has gifted us with creativity and individuality, He also grants us the wisdom to understand that real freedom comes from the order and structure He provides. While the world celebrates our moments of success or recognition, God treasures the times we stay faithful to His plan consistently every day. Becoming the person we are called to be is not just about managing our thoughts or mastering our inner selves. There's a deeper truth. We can try to rely on our own strength, but real change comes when we understand that our growth happens in connection with others as we walk this path together. God created us to lean on one another. We don't grow or stay balanced all on our own. It's the connections we build and the support of others that help us thrive. In relationships, we find love and encouragement. People help guide us when we're off course, showing kindness when we make mistakes. Without this shared path, we may lose touch with what's true and miss out on the love of Christ reflected through those around us. Our lives are shaped by our own growth and the people God places around us. It's not about doing everything on our own, but about understanding how much we need each other to live fully. God's design is for us to grow closer to Him and to each other, where our struggles find support, our mistakes are gently corrected, and our hearts are filled with love. True change happens not when we're alone, but when we journey together despite the challenges, moving toward Him with others by our side. Every day, without even noticing, we influence how others act by the signals we give off. A smile, a frown, a nod of approval, or a look of disapproval. All of these are ways we express what we expect. We don't always need to say anything for these messages to get across. Our reactions, expressions, and even moments of silence can speak just as loudly. This quiet exchange of responses, whether showing support or giving gentle correction, shapes how we interact with one another, quietly steering each other's actions. We are asked to do more than just try to change someone's actions. We have a greater purpose: to show God's love and kindness through how we treat others. It's not about whether someone behaves the way we want, but whether we react in a way that mirrors the love of Christ. When someone makes mistakes, instead of being upset or walking away, we can choose to offer patience and understanding. When we decide to show God's love in our actions, we open the door for others to grow, not through pointing out their faults, but by offering love and understanding. In doing so, our relationships go beyond the usual expectations. They become moments where we can offer grace, show kindness, and reveal the life-changing power of Christ's love. Building trust, integrity, and stability isn't something we do alone. It's how God guides and molds us through the everyday moments and relationships in our lives. The people around us serve as reflections, showing us who we are and helping us grow into who we're meant to become. Through these connections, we find balance and a sense of purpose, keeping our hearts grounded in truth. Without this steady influence, we can easily feel lost, drifting in a world that feels too big and overwhelming to face by ourselves. Being alone can lead to confusion, but God never meant for us to walk through life by ourselves. He created us to live in community where we can find support, direction, and purpose. When we invite others into our lives, whether friends, family, or those who share our faith, we find stability. Life's challenges become easier to face with faith and the strength of fellowship by our side. Each new day brings its own challenges and opportunities, and how we prepare for them plays a big role in shaping what happens next. We overlook the importance of starting our day with strength, believing we can rely on pure determination to get by. But just as God asks us to care for our hearts and minds, He also calls us to take care of the bodies He gave us. Many of us wake up feeling heavy with worries, stress, or distractions even before the day truly begins. We carry these burdens into our work, our relationships, and even into our time with God. Sometimes the answer is more straightforward than we think. It begins with how we treat ourselves at the start of each day. A neglected body will find it hard to focus and to face the challenges ahead, whether they're physical or spiritual. Sometimes we feel the urge to keep going without stopping, but wisdom shows us a different way. Even Jesus took moments to rest and care for His body and soul. If we aren't taking the same care for ourselves, whether it's through our thoughts, actions, or even what we eat, our spirits can become tired too fast. Ignoring these small moments of nourishment may seem unimportant, but they have a real impact on how we feel and how well we can serve others. The strength and clarity we seek doesn't come from constantly trying harder. It comes from recognizing what God has already placed inside us. He has given us everything we need, but it's up to us to embrace it. Even something as small as taking care of our bodies in the morning can be an act of worship, helping us move through the day with the strength He promises. So, when you feel tired, weighed down by your thoughts, or low in spirit, ask yourself, have I taken a moment to receive the gifts God has given me, both for my soul and my body? Each day offers a chance to start with purpose. When we take time to focus our hearts and minds on God, we do more than prepare for daily tasks. We prepare ourselves for His plans. In a world that celebrates constant busyness, we overlook the value of rest. But God created us to need it. It's not a sign of weakness, but a gentle reminder that we rely on more than our own strength. Even a brief pause in our day gives us the space to reconnect, not only with ourselves, but with God as well. In those quiet moments, we can hear God's soft voice reminding us that His grace is always enough, even when we're tired. Creating regular routines, especially how we begin each day, can influence everything that follows. There's strength in being consistent, waking up with a sense of purpose, even when the day feels unpredictable. It's not about rigid plans or trying to make every moment productive. Instead, it's about starting with an open heart, trusting that each day brings its own special grace, even when life feels uncertain. We all have our limits, and that's perfectly fine. It's not about doing more, but about doing what we can with a peaceful heart. When we push ourselves beyond what's reasonable, we lose the clarity and creativity that God has given us. In everything we do, balance is important. We weren't made to run on empty or to keep going without taking a break. God Himself showed us the need for rest. It wasn't just advice, it's part of His perfect plan for us. Efficiency isn't just about using up all your energy. It's about working from a place where you feel refreshed. When we learn to rest, really rest, and make time for stillness, we give God room to increase our efforts. What might seem like a brief break can actually be the starting point of His most important work within us. Embrace those quiet moments, because that's where His peace can deeply grow in our hearts. When we embrace the challenges before us with faith and perseverance, we begin to see life's purpose unfold in ways we never imagined. God is not asking us to rush, to be perfect, or to achieve every goal overnight. He's calling us to take steady, meaningful steps, trusting that every moment of effort, every pause for rest, and every prayer for guidance is part of His beautiful plan for our lives. It's not just about how far we can go, but how deeply we can grow in Him. Even in our busyness, God invites us to breathe, to lean on His strength, and to remember that success in His eyes is not measured by the world's standards, but by how we align our hearts with His love and purpose. As we pour ourselves into our work, our relationships, and our faith, let's also give ourselves the grace to slow down, reflect, and allow God to renew our spirits. Imagine a life where every task, no matter how small, carries the weight of eternity because it's done with love, purpose, and in partnership with God. That's the life He desires for you, a life that's not hurried or driven by the fear of falling short, but one that's grounded in the quiet confidence that His grace is always enough. Thank you for sharing this time together, reflecting on the deeper meaning of our journey. I'm truly grateful for your presence and your willingness to open your heart. Now I invite you to join me in prayer as we bring our thoughts, our hopes, and our need for balance before God, trusting in His wisdom and love to guide us forward. Loving Father, we come before you with humble hearts, acknowledging that the path you've designed for us isn't always easy, yet we trust in your guidance through every twist and unexpected turn. Teach us to embrace the challenges we face, not with fear or hesitation, but with a sense of purpose that comes from knowing you walk with us. Help us recognize that every difficulty is an opportunity to grow, to rely on the strength you have placed within us, and to reflect more of your character in our lives. We understand that growth requires effort, but we ask for your wisdom in taking each step intentionally, knowing that with every breath, you are present beside us. Lord, soften our hearts with humility. In a world that rushes ahead, driven by impatience, help us to be still. Teach us to be patient as your Son Jesus was patient, moving through life with deliberate care, never rushing, but always aligned with your divine will. May we find beauty in the steady, unhurried journey, cherishing those quiet moments where your Spirit works to shape us into the people you've called us to be. Let us find joy not just in reaching our destinations, but in the very process, trusting that you are transforming us with every step we take. Father, grant us the grace to seek balance in all things. Help us remember that life is not meant to be a race, but a rhythm where work and rest flow together, each in its proper time. When we feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, remind us that rest is not a sign of weakness, but a gift from you, a space to renew our strength. Guide us to know when to pause, to step away and be still in your presence, so our souls may find refreshment. Let us learn from Jesus, who withdrew to quiet places to find solitude and strength in communion with you. In moments when we feel weak or inadequate, let your strength shine through. When we've come to the end of our abilities, remind us that your grace is sufficient to carry us forward. Help us see that it's in our surrender that your power works greatest in our lives. Let us not be discouraged by our limitations, but instead trust that where we fall short, you are more than enough, filling the gaps with your love and wisdom. Root us, Lord, in your truth. When life feels uncertain and we are unsure of our direction, help us remember that you are our constant, our guiding light. Ground us in the purpose you have for our lives and help us find clarity in the stillness of time spent with you. Shape us through discipline, reminding us that each small act of faith, every routine and habit centered on you, brings us closer to living the life you've created us for. We are grateful for the people you have placed in our lives. In moments of loneliness or struggle, let us be reminded that we are never walking this journey alone. Surround us with community, family, friends, and those who reflect your love and grace. Let us also be a reflection of that love, treating others with kindness, patience, and compassion. May we lift each other up, encourage one another, and be a light in the lives of those around us, just as you have been a light to us. Father, help us not to neglect the care of our bodies and minds, for they are a reflection of your creation. You made us in your image, and in caring for ourselves, we honor the life you've given us. Teach us to view our rest, our nourishment, and even our moments of self-care as acts of worship, drawing us nearer to you in the process. Let us remember that in nurturing ourselves, we are better able to serve you and others with open hearts and renewed spirits. Guide us, Lord, to live a life of harmony, one rooted in your peace, driven by purpose, and always centered on your love. Let all we do come from a place of rest and clarity, free from the pressures of constant striving. May we live with hearts that are open, hands ready to serve, and spirits rested in the confidence that your plan for each of us is perfect and beautiful beyond our understanding. In your holy name we pray. Amen.